In the quiet town of Crescent, Oklahoma, a chilling tale of corporate malfeasance, radiation exposure, and a suspicious death unfolds. The year was 1974, and Karen Silkwood, a 28-year-old laboratory technician at the Kerr-McGee plutonium plant, was about to blow the whistle on shocking safety violations. What followed was a series of events that would culminate in her untimely demise, leaving a trail of unanswered questions and conspiracy theories in its wake. Karen Silkwood was an unlikely hero in the world of nuclear power. A working-class mother of three, she had become increasingly alarmed by the dangerous conditions at the Kerr-McGee plant. The facility was responsible for processing plutonium, a highly radioactive and toxic substance used in the production of nuclear weapons. Silkwood, a member of the Oil, Chemical, and Atomic Workers Union, was determined to expose the lax safety standards that jeopardized both workers and the community at large. Before becoming an indomitable whistleblower, Karen Silkwood's life followed a different path. Born in Longview, Texas, and raised in Nederland, she grew up alongside her two sisters, Linda and Rosemary. She pursued higher education at Lamar University in Beaumont, Texas, before marrying William Meadows, an oil pipeline worker in 1965. The couple would go on to have 3 children. However, their life took a tumultuous turn as they faced bankruptcy due to Meadows' financial recklessness, which included an extramarital affair he refused to end. In 1972, Silkwood made a life-altering decision, leaving behind her troubled marriage and relocating to Oklahoma City, where she briefly found work as a hospital clerk. It was in this new chapter of her life that she would become an instrumental figure in exposing corporate misconduct and fighting for the rights and safety of workers at the Kerr-McGee plutonium plant. Hired at the Kerr-McGee Cimarron fuel fabrication site plant in Crescent, Oklahoma in 1972, she quickly became a force to be reckoned with. Silkwood joined the local Oil, Chemical, and Atomic Workers Union, and her fiery spirit soon led her to participate in a strike at the plant. When the dust settled, she found herself elected to the union's bargaining committee. A groundbreaking move as the first woman to hold such a position at Kerr-McGee. Silkwood's role on the bargaining committee wasn't just a milestone for gender equality, it was a turning point in the battle for workers' rights and safety. She was tasked with investigating health and safety concerns at the plant, and what she uncovered was nothing short of shocking. Silkwood believed she had stumbled upon a litany of health regulation violations, including perilous exposure of workers to contamination, the use of faulty respiratory equipment, and improper storage of samples. Moreover, she pointed out that inadequate shower facilities at the plant increased the risk of employee contamination. The Oil, Chemical, and Atomic Workers Union threw its weight behind Silkwood's claims, asserting that the Kerr-McGee plant had not only manufactured faulty fuel rods, but also had falsified product inspection records, ultimately jeopardizing the safety of its employees. Litigation loomed ominously on the horizon. The summer of 1974 marked a crucial moment in Silkwood's crusade for justice. She testified before the Atomic Energy Commission, the AEC, revealing the contamination she had personally endured. She boldly alleged that safety standards had been intentionally relaxed to accommodate an uptick in production, a dangerous compromise that put lives at stake. The turning point in this tale came on November 5, 1974. When Silkwood conducted a routine self-check. What she discovered was chilling. Her body contained nearly 400 times the legal limit for plutonium contamination. In a desperate attempt to rectify the situation, she underwent decontamination at the plant and was sent home with a testing kit to collect samples for further analysis. However, the source of her contamination remained a puzzle. Even though there was plutonium on the inner portions of the gloves she had been using, meticulous inspection revealed no holes, leaving a disturbing question mark hanging in the air. The morning after her decontamination, as she prepared to attend a union negotiation meeting, Silkwood once again tested positive for plutonium, despite having engaged in only paperwork duties that day. A more intensive decontamination followed. On November 7th, as she entered the plant, the extent of her contamination became alarmingly evident. She was even expelling contaminated air from her lungs. A team of health physicists accompanied Silkwood back to her home, where they discovered plutonium traces on various surfaces, particularly in the bathroom and the refrigerator. The home had to undergo an extensive decontamination process, leading to the destruction of some of Silkwood's property. Alongside her boyfriend Drew Stevens and her roommate Dusty Ellis, Silkwood was sent to the Los Alamos National Laboratory for comprehensive testing to determine the full extent of contamination in their bodies. The question of how Silkwood became contaminated during this 3-day period remained a vexing one. She speculated that the bathroom contamination might have occurred when she spilled her urine sample on the morning of November 7. This theory aligned with the evidence showing the samples she had taken at home exhibited alarmingly high levels of contamination, while the samples collected in fresh jars at the plant and at Los Alamos displayed significantly lower levels. Kerr-McGee's management, on the other hand, mounted a vigorous defense, alleging that Silkwood had deliberately contaminated herself to tarnish the company's reputation, noting that even a bologna and cheese sandwich in her apartment tested positive for radiation. As Richard L. Rashke's book, The Killing of Karen Silkwood, would later reveal, security at the plant was so lax that workers could easily smuggle out finished plutonium pellets. Astonishingly, the type of soluble plutonium found in Silkwood's body had not been accessible to her for 4 months, stored safely away in the vault of the facility. The events leading up to Karen Silkwood's tragic end on November 13, 1974, were as enigmatic as they were disturbing. In the midst of a contentious union battle with Kerr-McGee over serious worker safety violations, Silkwood discovered a chilling truth. She had been contaminated with a lethal dose of plutonium. It was a revelation that demanded action, and she and the union decided it was time to speak out. Their chosen confidant was David Burnham, a New York Times reporter. Scheduled to meet in Oklahoma City, Karen Silkwood embarked on a drive down Highway 74. However, just 5 minutes into her journey, tragic struck. Her car careened off the road, colliding with a culvert. And she met an untimely death on that dark, desolate stretch of Oklahoma highway. David Burnham, unaware of the impending tragedy, waited for Karen for hours. When she failed to arrive, the union reached out to local authorities and discovered the grim reality. A cloud of suspicion hung heavily in the air. Was it a mere accident, a twist of fate, or did something more sinister transpire that night? As the first news reports emerged, questions began to surface. Union investigators pointed to the damage and the presence of different colored paint chips on the rear bumper of Silkwood's car, suggesting she had been run off the road. The implications were profound. Had a massive corporation like Kerr-McGee gone to such lengths as to murder one of its own employees to protect its secrets? David Burnham, who arrived at the accident scene, noticed a disturbing detail: a bloody notebook. What he didn't find, however, was the folder that was said to contain all the crucial evidence against Kerr-McGee. A fellow union attendee later testified that they saw Silkwood on the morning of her death carrying a binder and a packet of documents. Silkwood's relatives also confirmed she had been carrying evidence with her that morning, placing the documents in the passenger seat of her car before leaving for work. The folder's absence at the site of the crash added another layer of intrigue to the mystery, leaving open the possibility that it had been removed from the scene. The official report, as it stands, offers a less sensational explanation, suggesting that Karen Silkwood had fallen asleep at the wheel. But for those that knew her and the high-stakes nature of her mission, this theory seems implausible. Michael, Karen's son, expressed skepticism, noting the improbability of his mother falling asleep within just 5 minutes on a night filled with stress and urgency. The circumstances surrounding her death were shrouded in mystery. Was it a tragic accident, or was Silkwood the victim of foul play orchestrated by those determined to silence her? The latter theory gained traction as the evidence began to surface. An autopsy revealed that Silkwood's body contained a significant amount of radioactive contamination, far higher than what would be expected from her routine work at the plant. Could this contamination have been the result of a deliberate act? Many believe so, pointing fingers at Kerr-McGee officials who stood to lose billions in potential lawsuits and a tarnished reputation. The legal battle that ensued was as contentious as it was convoluted. The Silkwood family filed a lawsuit against Kerr-McGee seeking damages for Karen's contamination and death. In 1979, a jury awarded the family a substantial sum, but the case left numerous questions unanswered. Was Karen Silkwood's death a result of corporate sabotage? Were her efforts to expose safety violations a threat powerful enough to warrant her murder? Over the years, the case of Karen Silkwood has continued to captivate the public's imagination, inspiring books, documentaries, and even a Hollywood film. Her death remains an unsolved puzzle, with no conclusive evidence to prove foul play definitively. Nonetheless, the legacy of her brave whistleblowing efforts endures, serving as a poignant reminder of the lengths some will go to protect their interests, even at the expense of human lives.